All right. Thank you for tuning in. Michigan Football, the voice of college football. Your hosts, Desmond and Dre here. We are in Ann Arbor, actually right across from Pioneer High School. Please give us a thumbs up if you can hear us. We're kind of working on the audio, so hopefully you can hear us speaking. The thumbs up. Let us know. Let us know if you can hear us, but we'll kind of keep rolling. Yeah, so we are here at the game. Obviously, Michigan, perfect. Michigan wins 19-17. A very tense game. I think everybody can agree with that. But yeah, so Dre, first and foremost, how was your experience at the game? Like, what, kind of give us a rundown.
Well, it was the first time that I've been to a game in about maybe 9 years almost. So it's been quite a while since I've been to Michigan Stadium to watch a game. And, the atmosphere, of course, is incredible. Being around the campus. I live local, so I'm only 30 minutes from Ann Arbor. And I've been in Ann Arbor many times, but to be here on a game day, feel that energy, that excitement, especially with Ohio State being around the corner. It's nothing like it. So, and of course, we all know how breathtaking Michigan Stadium is. So, it was great. Now, the game itself was. Hold
on. We ain't gonna get in that just yet. I got some hot hands in my vest pocket that are heating me up like no other right now. So. I gotta get those out.
Okay, I may be bad luck. Thank you. I might be bad luck. Trust me, for what was that? 57 minutes of that game, I felt like I was bad luck.
58 and change.
58 and I felt like I was bad luck.
Yeah.
But it was once again an incredible experience to be here again. And look, they won the game. We are off to Ohio State with everything on the table. Definitely, there are some concerns, both health-wise and schematic-wise. My gosh, going into the game next week. But we have both this recording as well as Wednesday to really get into that. But I don't know, Des. This is your second game this year. I mean, what did you think?
I mean, just call me a Michigan fan. I'm just here so often.
Yeah. That's what we're getting. Hey, man, look, Bama's having an off year this year. We're glad you welcome you aboard.
Oh man, yeah, it's been. This game fits in well with how Alabama's played all year, but. No, it's been. I think one of the cool parts about Michigan and say what you want about some Michigan fans, and they do get just weird just reputations. I think the love that Michigan fans have for their team is top notch. Like it's awesome to see fans, young and old, like all different ages, look all different ways, like just here to root for maize and blue. Like, so that part is really cool. I enjoy seeing that. Same thing when we were in the stadium. I mean, we were high-fiving and fist-bumping and talking to people we've never met before in our lives. And I think that's a cool part of sports, too, is that happens a lot, right? In stadiums is where, I have no idea who this guy is. I may never see him again, but for this 60 minutes of football, you're going to be my best friend. Like, we're going to be high-fiving, fist-bumping. So that was really cool. We had a really good spot. Also, thank you to you for the tickets. Because it was nice. We actually had a lot of room. Like I think 3 or 4 seats to my left were empty. So we actually, we weren't stuffed. We were
living
packed
like sardines.
We were living in luxury. Yeah. So let's get into the game. Obviously, Michigan wins. They kick a field goal with 9 seconds left, something like that, to go up.
Jake Mooney kicks the game field goal.
Your thoughts just overall on the game?
Oh man. Well, I mean, for starters, I think our main concern as Michigan fans right now is the health of Blake Corum. Very, very, very scary moment. What was that, in the first quarter? No, I think the second quarter.
Second quarter, yep.
Blake, bounces the ball to the outside, looks to take an inside cut. You go up to the field, and either he was hit or he.
It looked like he was his knee. Yeah, he planted his knee and looked like he kind of got hit simultaneously in that left knee, kind of all at once.
Yeah, and he immediately, not only did he grab his knee, he let go of the ball, which tells you the the jolt of pain.
He was in some pain, yeah.
And grabbed his knee, and it was just a very, very scary sight. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in the stadium when he went down.
Yes.
And it just shows you how much like that young man means to the program, means to the team. He's really on a Heisman Trophy chase, and he's deservedly so. So that was very scary. He went in. It was very encouraging to see him come back out of the tunnel after halftime, and he got a couple snaps. But either the coaching staff noticed that he was not himself, or they decided to pull him to save him, as much as they could for next week. So,
and sometimes that's, as a coach, sometimes you need to save the player from himself.
Yeah,
because I'm sure he wanted to play, and it was a tight ball game, so I'm sure he wanted to play.
Yeah.
But I mean, when he came back out for halftime, everybody was excited. I was glad to see him out running around. Yes, and then when he came in the game, I mean, I looked at you. I'm like, why is he in the game?
Yeah.
Like, it's obviously he was hurting, and this is separate than, I hit my elbow hard, and this is a very.
You have Ohio State next week.
This is a very serious body part. Let's put it that way. I don't know what the injury was.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were in the
stadium.
we were in the stadium, so we didn't get to hear any reports, so we know zero.
Yeah.
But I just, to me, I'm just like, okay, if he's banged up at halftime, he obviously had that situation.
Right.
He should not be in the game in the second half, and he obviously didn't play that much, but that was scary. And I looked at you right before that happened, probably 5 minutes before it happened, because at that point I looked at you and just said, Michigan's offense is number 2.
Yeah,
that is the offense. It's Blake Corum.
Sure as crap. It seemed like the very next play that happened, and you saw the fallout for the rest of the game. How the offense was just it was, that's called it what it is. It was terrible. It was wonky. It was not smooth at all for it being the 11th game of the season. The passing game, we can't keep harping this enough, looks broken as crap. And within that, and there's a multitude of culprits within that.
Yes.
You have receivers at times who dropping passes, that we want to note that, but then you have times where JJ is inaccurate, or indecisive. So there's a multitude of reasons why the passing game is just broken. Play calling as well with the coaching staff and designs. I mean, being there in person, you really see that, the receivers really don't get a lot of separation at all. And so, it's a multitude of factors is why this passing game is so broken. But, unfortunately, it is what it is. And, they barely survived today. But, it doesn't give you a lot of confidence going into next week, especially with, Blake Corum's health. If he's not full, even if he plays, but if he's not full go, and that rushing attack looked like it did the second half, which was essentially non-existent. I
don't care how the defense plays. If your offense looks like that,
you have no
against
chance
Ohio State,
you have no chance. I mean, between Gash, C.J. Stokes, I mean, that's not going to cut it. That rushing attack was terrible, and part of it was, I thought the Illinois defense, they were like, we're just going to sell out. And force you to beat us another way. And I think, and part of that is JJ's not really pulling the ball in those zone reads. He's pretty much just letting it go, and the defense is just not even worrying about the threat of his legs. They're just, selling out. So,
and to let you guys know, when we were in the stadium, the amount of, and just the small area that we could audibly hear, the amount of people who on first down when Michigan had the ball would just say, all right, run it up the middle. And Michigan would then run it up. I mean, it was just such a heavy tendency that you just the play. Like you said, there's multiple culprits in this and why the offense looked the way it did. The group that I know is not problematic is the O-line. I thought the O-line played well, but JJ, I mean, let's get into our we'll just critique this and then we'll get to the point of where we're at in the season.
Right.
JJ was bad today.
He wasn't good.
The receivers were bad today.
No.
I mean, they, in tandem, they were both bad, because when JJ would make a good throw, Andrew Anthony.
You seem to drop the ball.
You dropped it.
Yeah, right in your hands.
And then 41, I can't remember his name, but the Gash. In a clutch moment, in a gotta-have-it moment.
Walk into the end zone.
JJ, I mean, that's a toss. Yeah. JJ tossed the ball to you. You drop it.
Yeah, and then the very next play, Loveland is open towards the end zone, and JJ opens.
And then JJ missed it.
That's a touch pass.
I mean,
that it was not like a tight window. And it's just so frustrating, especially being this far into the season, guys. And look, mind you, and I hate the fact I have to say these things for some of you, but I'm gonna do it anyway. We do understand that this team is 11-0.
Correct.
They are the third-ranked team.
We will get to that. We will get to that.
They are the third-ranked team in the country. We are well aware of that. But fact of the matter is, this was an incredibly ugly performance right before your biggest game of the year. Mm-hmm. Okay, in a very hostile environment. So if some of you are going to live in La La Land, like, man, I feel good about next week. I don't think today was not an apparition. I think today, Blake Corum's injury definitely affected the team. But it's concerning. It really is. And now you're worried about health. Mike Morrison, he was suited up, but he didn't play today. Mm-hmm. I watched him a couple of times on the sideline. He looked a little gingerly. I don't know, the extent of the injury, but, I don't know if he's going to play next week or not. But, that's something to watch out for. So, I mean,
that's just not like the unfortunate part is for Michigan. Essentially, they've been relatively healthy as a team.
Yeah.
They've been healthy all year.
Yeah.
So to have these injuries happen, literally 2 weeks before the biggest game of the season is difficult. But it just, I just, like, with the passing game, it just is always difficult. Like, none of the throwing catches seemed easy. Right, there was the big play after the timeout. They had it basically that looked like the Penn State play from last year.
Yeah.
When Eric All, they basically ran like a little mesh, some crossers. Eric All comes out of the mess, wide open. Cade hits him and he's and Eric ran it up, for a touchdown. But it was a huge play today. And then they tried to go back to it when JJ sailed the pass. That it looked to me like the same exact play. And the corner kind of bumped the tight end a little bit, but everything just looked difficult. And today obviously Blake Corum gets banged up. He's out in the second half. Donovan Edwards was already I didn't see him at all today, so he's banged up. So it's worrisome going into next week, the biggest game of the season. Defense. I thought the defense played great. I mean, they basically stood on their heads the entire game. First half you give up 3 points. That's all they gave up. And then second half you gave up 14. But I mean, one of those drives was did Michigan go for it? I think on a fourth down or something, didn't get it. But essentially, Illinois had 60 yards to score. So it was basically you got the ball at midfield and they scored a touchdown. So. The defense played really well. Obviously, you'd always love to have an impact guy like Mike Morris back, but if this means that he can be back next week, great. But, Illinois, I thought they did a good job of their play calling offensively in really limiting Michigan's pass rush because they were so run heavy. I mean, if the quarterback had 20 pass attempts, I'd be shocked by that. But it was so rare that they ever just dropped back and threw the ball. It was some kind of misdirection or play action. So they really did a good job of not letting, Oki and Mozzie Smith and Graham really just kind of pin their ears back and go get them. But it was overall, I think. Listen, you got out of it. That's all that matters is you got out of it. But just a lot of things to be concerned about.
And I think that's what, at the end of the day, that's what a lot of people care about. They care about just, hey, we won.
Mm-hmm. And there is an element of that I do understand.
Absolutely. No one is apologizing for a win.
Mm-hmm.
It's just okay. We won a Big Ten title last year.
Mm-hmm.
Made it to the college football playoff. This is about taking the next step.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's win a national championship.
Correct.
Right? And to do that, to repeat even what we did last year, we got to go into the horseshoe and win.
Mm-hmm.
And when performances like today, yes, you got the win, but it's so ugly and it's right before that game, and you just had a pretty good injury where we don't know the status of. It's like, okay, whew, wipe the sweat, we made it, but okay.
But then you got to look at reality.
Yeah, it's reality, and it's like there's a little bit of good and bad and uneasiness about reality, and it's okay to say that in the midst of enjoying the moments. I'm ecstatic, like a ton of Michigan fans are. And mind you guys, Des can vouch, he was right there, of course. A lot of people were in lockstep with us.
Correct.
They were booing the offense today.
Yeah.
Fellow Michigan fans booing the offense.
Upset. Fans, I would say, not people.
Not just me and Des being hard on the team. Everybody was pissed off.
The fans were, the people we sat around were more upset than we were.
Guys, we had people sitting next to us calling out the plays, run up the middle,
do something that they can't see coming.
Let's not act like we're the only ones doing this. Okay, like it's everyone, especially that's there, is seeing this crap. It's crap. It really is. The lack of creativity on this offense, it's crap. Your offense should not go in the gutter when you lose, albeit a very, very, very good player. It shouldn't go from it shouldn't go down 5 levels.
Right.
You know, like, of course you would expect a step back. It's only natural. But to go to essentially non-existent, like out of flux because Blake Corum is out, it's unacceptable.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sorry. It's okay to say that.
And I get that, you know, because yes, Blake was out. And ideally, you'd love to have Donovan Edwards there too, but in the reality is he wasn't there.
No,
like that's the reality. He's not suited up, not ready to play. So you got to go with the guys that you have, and I get it. Michigan wants to run the ball first and foremost, but you have a 5-star quarterback taking the snaps. Like that, you should be able to do something there. And someone had mentioned, talking about the play calling. Basically most of this game, outside of the first drive, the play calling was abysmal offensively.
Oh, yeah.
It was just, like we said, everything was hard. Like it takes a timeout to be able to draw up a play to get a guy wide open. Like that should be baked into your offense. That should be, give me 5 go-to plays. That should be just baked in. That shouldn't be hey, we got to take a timeout, let's huddle up and then diagram the play. You should be able to do that on a 2nd and 10. All right, cool. And it was difficult. I thought the play calling was bad. And even late in the game, I mean, when they were down, I'm a fan, so it doesn't matter. I don't have to know exactly the situation. But Michigan had no timeouts on that 2nd and 10 that Cornelius Johnson caught the ball, made it 3rd and 5. Right, they reviewed the play, so it kind of put a stoppage within the game. But it got to a point where we're just like, hold on, like, why are they still throwing the ball?
Yeah, what are we doing? If you somehow get a sack, and you can get sacked many different ways. It could have been a muff snap. You try to scramble, all of a sudden, guy back there wraps you up. A sack ends the game. You don't even get a chance to get the field goal off. So it just felt, once again, that last drive was a microcosm of the whole game. It felt out of sorts, dysfunctional, just not together.
I know Michigan fans will take it, but that was definitely offensive pass interference on that. On the throw to the left, I can't remember who caught it. It might have been Ronnie Bell, but that was definitely offensive pass interference. It didn't get called. You're at home, is what it is. But it just not a great day for Moore and Weiss. That was pretty rough. And to me, the excuse that Blake Corum is out is not one that you could just say, oh, well, okay, don't put the blame on me. That's literally your job.
Your offense can't, for a team, I'll put it this way, for a team to be as good as Michigan is, to be the 3rd-ranked team in the country, their offense does not fit that billing. It does not. It is too dysfunctional. It's dysfunctional. It lacks creativity. It's one-dimensional. And, some of you may chalk this game up to being, trap game, cold day, ugly.
It was cold.
That is a fact. It was very, very, very cold. We just get through it. And like, once again, there's an element of truth to that. But man, you felt good that they got the win. And look, there's a lot of excitement about what's in front of us. You know, we have Ohio State. This is incredible. And that's also worst case scenario, bro. You know, let's say they lose next week. You had an 11-1 year. That's an incredible year. It really is. So I mean, guys, if you think we can't separate, you know, being critical and critiquing a performance and then recognize the reality, then you're not paying attention to us. You know.
So 5 hours ago, what were your feelings going into about the Ohio State game before this game kicked off? What was your feeling on that game?
I was cautiously optimistic, excuse me, because I felt like, for one, Buckeye fans, just because I know Buckeye fans, I'm married to a Buckeye family, unfortunately. But I can tell they were a little bit pompous, you know, kind of overlooking us. Probably, and it makes sense. They've been kicking our butt for years. But I felt like they were underestimating Ojabo and Hutcherson. I was like, look, if you think you're just going to run a scoreboard up on us this year, you got to twist it. This year we're causing a lot of havoc, and we can put CJ in uncomfortable situations. And I thought that it was possible for us to run the football pretty effectively, because going back to the Oregon game last year, when Ohio State lost to Oregon at home, they struggled to stop the run.
Yep.
So I thought there was for the first time in a long time, I thought there was a formula for Michigan to win the football game. So I was cautiously optimistic that they had a chance. I didn't pick Michigan to win, but I thought they had a decent chance to pull, you know, to pull it off, you know, and they did. This year, I'm trying not to be a prisoner of the moment. How I feel right now, I don't feel great at all about next week. But I need to see the reports out, you know, how's health looking, you know, and I know they're very tightened up even during the week about who's going to play and who's not. But is the formula still there on this team to win next week? Absolutely. Does Ohio State have issues that can be exposed? Absolutely. So there still is a very good chance they can win next week, but they got a lot to clean up during this week of practice.
Do you feel better or worse about the game after the Illinois game?
Oh, worse. Because it's just, you know, what today proved was the fear that me and you have talked about, and to the good people who have joined us today, and hopefully you've joined us before, and we will love to continue to have you, is if the what the F moment happens, and you have this formula for winning football games, but what if one of your guys, what if Corum gets hurt? What if before last year Haskins get hurt, right? You know, can you win a football game another way?
Right, without your fastball.
Yeah, without your fastball, right? Or your haymaker, right? You have another counter punch. You know, they did, but boy, was it ugly, and it was against a team that they could get away with it a little bit. But can you win a game without your fastball versus a team that's just as good or a little bit better?
Yeah,
that's the concern. And man, that they didn't really pass that test too well with me. They got the win, but boy, was it ugly.
Yeah, it was tough because, and someone had put, you know, that they just, you know, beat the team with the number 3 defense in the country. I'm like, okay, but you also, I saw you play a pretty good defense in Penn State and blow the doors off that team.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, so, and it's not like Illinois went crazy offensively. Like, you held them to 3 points in the first half. You know, it's I don't know. At the end of the day, obviously, no team is flawless. I think Georgia's about the closest thing to it. So any team can be beat on any day. Obviously, we get that. So to me, it's not. I don't. My feeling isn't different about the game due to solely on this performance. It's more so the health. It's more so Blake Corum and Mike Morris, because those are guys, before the season started, we were talking about those two guys having an impact, amongst other guys, but they were 2 of the 5 guys that we talked about have to have success in order for Michigan to get to where they want to be.
Right.
And to have those guys banged up is concerning. Like, I really don't, no matter how big of a fan you are, that has to be a concern, because you you want to have all your horses in the race, essentially. Yeah. And not having those guys 100%, it's definitely going to be a concern. So, if did they give us any report or anything on Blake Corum's health? Like, if they gave us a report, if you could drop it in the chat, that would be super helpful. But yeah, I think Michigan's strong point was going to be the running game going into the Ohio State game. I think it's still that. You'd love to have a Heisman Trophy caliber running back in Blake Corum having the snaps and having the carries, because we see how dynamic he looks. I think some of those holes that Stokes and Gash, hit in the second half, I think Blake hit some of those much quicker, and I think he turned some of those 2-3 yard gains into 10 and 12 yard gains.
Absolutely.
Like, so that, he is a force multiplier, especially when it comes to that run game, where he can do things that no one else can. So that is the that's the concern, is just Blake not being there. I think for as much as I am a big fan of Mike Morris, I think you can live if Mike Morris is on a pitch count, so to speak. If he's only got 20 snaps, I think you could survive that as a defense. I think you can live with that as a defense. Blake Corum, especially if Edwards is out, I don't think you can survive that, because I think he's that dynamic. And it's not that the other running backs aren't good or anything like that, but he is so special, so unique, that I think he changes the game that much.
Yeah, that, and just call it what it is. I mean, you're relying on your third and fourth string running backs, as opposed to your first. And now, granted, Michigan is a unique situation where there are 1 and 2 running backs, both could be number ones. But man, look, you're happy about the win, but it's one of those things where it's like, gosh, could we at least like score? I mean, the smoothest drive was the very first drive.
Yes.
I mean, they got down the field easily.
I mean, yeah.
Blake,
and part of that was Blake.
His
yeah.
first round was like 35, 40 yards. So I mean, like, man.
So Mark Edwards, if this is correct, I don't know, but we'll roll with it. It says Blake Corum hyperextended his knee, sprained ligament. Could be a few days to heal or a few months. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They Jesse says, geez, not every game is pretty. Okay, thank you. What are we supposed to do with that?
Yeah, well, Jesse, I see Jesse, and you're there every week. We appreciate you. I've been looking at your comments all throughout the day. It's like, Jesse, what would you like? I find it interesting with someone with your view. It's like, what would you like us to say? Hey, guys, a win's a win. Yes, that is true.
But what I would also say is that you were favored by 18 points.
We're going to talk about the game.
Yeah.
Okay, we're not just here to say, hey guys, checking in. Thanks for joining us. Michigan wins. See you next week.
Everybody struggles.
Everybody struggles.
No big deal.
No, we're talking about the game. And no one is saying the sky is falling. We're saying the good and bad about the game. And look, this is one of those days where it was so sloppy. It was a lot more bad than there was good.
Yeah, it was a mess today.
It was a mess, and
injuries is part of it. But I mean, you were favored by over 14 points in this game to beat Illinois. And I think that was probably valid. I thought the play calling was bad today. I thought JJ had a lot of bad moments today. Thought the wide receivers had a lot of bad moments today. And you look and you start to put all of those together, and you can easily tell a story of how Michigan left 14 plus points on the field easily.
As you brought up in the first half, we were looking at the statistical difference in total yards between Illinois and Michigan. And you're like, man, Michigan statistically at a certain point was dominating the football game. You're only up 7 points. It was like 7-0.
Correct.
And it goes back to like a trend. And I brought this up during the game as well, that Michigan, even when they are healthy, their first halves. They start off so slow. They really do. And, it's like, and even the guy in front of us is like, yeah, that's not going to cut it next week. It's another Michigan fan right next to us, not on this platform. It's like, so it's like, that's also a concerning trend. I mean, you're getting off to these really, really slow starts. And, man, you can't do that against a team that can put up points. You call Ohio State, whatever you are, they're flawed to all this and that,
soft, whatever.
Fact of the matter is they can put up points.
Mm-hmm.
And if your offense is sputtering to start the game, you get out to another slow start, you can find yourself in a hole that you may not have the ability nor scheme or to come back from.
Yeah, because Michigan's definitely, they can score a lot of points in a game, but they are not built to come from behind. No. I would say they are similar to the Baltimore Ravens of the NFL. That if they get to play their game, they get to stay on schedule. They're extremely dangerous and could drop 40 on your head, and you look up and we only have the ball 20 of the 40 minutes of the time of possession. Mm-hmm. But if you get up on the Ravens 14-17-0, 14-3, 17-3, they're just not. They're not built to come back that way. That's not the way their offense is built. That's not how they want to play.
Right.
And I would look at Michigan the same way. When they had to have it, they got it today. So I as far as silver linings, you got out with a win. And at the end of the day, that is what matters. Listen, as ugly as it was, we get to go back in the locker room, talk about a win. Talk about playing Ohio State and going into the shoe
the marbles.
And winning. Yeah. So that's golden. That's the silver lining is, we didn't. Well, we care how it looks, but essentially we didn't care how it looked. If you got here 11-0, you're in good shape, and that's where they're at. So that will be interesting. It sounds like Ohio State is in a close game. We're still within the whole, we're, like I said, right across from Pioneer, so we don't have great service. Do you have a score update?
I'm checking now.
People are making it seem like they are. Somebody says we're toast without Edwards, Corum, and Morris.
Georgia's in this dogfight. Oh, wow. Yeah, Maryland. Good old Maryland. Maryland, Ohio State the day before.
7-6. Oh, that's right. Remember what was that, 2018?
Yeah.
That was interesting. How bad was the wind?
Wind wasn't bad. It's just cold. Cold.
It was cold. I mean, on the dashboard, it shows 31. I think it was like 28 when we were walking out. But now that wasn't real feel.
Yeah.
That's just. But there was more than a noticeable wind. That is for sure. It definitely. I mean, we were loaded up. We've got. I mean, as you can see, I got bibs and hoods and hats and all that good stuff on. So we were loaded up. I think the roughest part was probably fingertips and toes. Like, I'm just now starting to feel my toes.
Oh yeah, my toes finally thawed out. They finally thawed out for sure.
So it was a little chilly. It was a great time though. It was a great time. Someone asked about Ronnie Bell. Didn't see him much in the second half.
He was out there.
Yeah,
he was out there. I mean, he made a big time catch late in the game. So I mean, Ronnie Bell was out there. Look, hey, let me explain. If you notice, a lot of receivers seemed like they were missing because.
Oh man,
the ball wasn't getting to him very much.
That is
so.
Rough.
Yeah, a lot of guys are out there. You just didn't see them making a lot of plays.
But Ronnie didn't have a lot of catches.
No, his biggest play of the game was
the punt return.
Easily the punt return.
Yeah, by far.
Once again, a frustrated into a drive. You get a gift of a muff, snapped.
Yeah.
By Illinois, pushes them further back in the field. You get more room to return the punt. So Ronnie Bell gets it, takes it 40, 50 yards, whatever it was. It's Illinois territory, and you in that drive for the field goal. At that point it was 17-10. And they was to start the fourth quarter. I remember that, and you end up going 13-17. Then you kick 3 straight field goals to win the game. Whatever.
Yeah. Rock Davis, thanks for tuning in. Says, do you guys think they practice the deep ball because when they're in the game so much, overthrows, so many drop balls?
Man,
I mean, I'd be just straight up disrespecting Jim Harbaugh if I said that they didn't practice it. I know for a fact that they do, and but at the end of the day, practice is different than the games. Like the adrenaline is different, just the feel is different, your nerves are different, so everything is different. And there's guys trying to knock your head off too. Those guys are trying to do those things in practice.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just reality. So it just, for whatever reason, just hasn't clicked. I don't know. I really don't know. Like, my thought is, and my theory is that they haven't given it enough shots in the actual games to be comfortable with it. Like, because you can only practice so much of doing it in practice.
It's hard to simulate game action.
Correct. And early in those games, when, you know, we wanted them to throw the ball and kind of work these kinks out, we didn't do it. They still decided to play ball the way that Jim Harbaugh wants to play, and that's fine. But I think this is part of the byproduct of it. I'm not saying that, oh, had they done it against, you know, Hawaii, that we would definitely be here now, right? I'm not saying that is the sole reason, but I do think that's part of it, of why they can't get that together. Let's see.
I agree with that comment.
What was the comment?
Lack of steady pass is starting to catch up to us. Let's see what Mark said. We are too late in the season to redevelop a passing game. We have to use what we have, which is not much. I just added that in there. And we know, and what we know. Refine that, and we have a chance. I mean, sure, I get that, you know, but the fact of the matter is, they do need to refine it a lot.
Well, okay, but my thing. So my question to you, Mark, would be: is your goal for Michigan to get further this year than they got last year? And I think everybody would say yes, right? That's the goal. Well, you knew you had to develop a pass game all season, and you know, decided not to. So you know what I mean? Like yes, it's what it is. Good to go.
Look at this. We noticed that.
Is that the student section? Are you sure that's the student section?
I'm pretty sure that is the student section. Hey, why was the student section that empty before? We noticed that.
Do the kids think we're going to school at Miami is a disgrace to me as a M alum. Now, I obviously have been to the Big House. This is my second time, so I don't know for a fact that is a student section.
That was a student section. I pointed it out to you. I'm like, why is a student? This is a tight game. Why is it the student section?
But it was empty the whole game.
It was, but it was funny. It got like more people left, as if like we were blowing them out 35-17. Like, hey, it's cold. See you, peace, guys. See you guys next week. You know, it's like, what is going on? I can't speak as a.
I don't. Yeah,
no. It definitely was, you know, missing, and it was dwindling. I guess a little too cold for the students that got finals and stuff to study for. So
I don't know. I feel like if you're warm enough. Okay, so Mark said, yeah, that was a student section. Okay, well, that's interesting. Nate Howell, thanks for the comment. Going way too far.
I wouldn't say that.
Says JJ out there looking like John O'Corn. That is, JJ's mother would not like that. She wouldn't like that comment.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. But you know, I will say that, you know, he has to be better. As Desno was walking back from the game, you know, even just his professional aspirations, is, you know, you put that into perspective, you know, like he has to get better. You know,
correct.
As of now, he just looks like a guy who's in there because of his legs, and that he doesn't even that they don't even utilize a lot. You know, so you know, in terms of his passing proficiency, you know, it's just.
Do you think with JJ, as far as like the zone reads, before I get to that, Keelan Sandiford, thanks so much for the super chat. Says QB pressure can be better. Have to get to Stroud, and I absolutely agree.
How do you know this? Like, can you please get that?
What?
The thing, he will get better. You know, I see people like Jesse say stuff. Oh, don't worry, it will get better. Jesse, how do you know that?
Well, and also too, we're 11 games, and that's what I was just gonna say is.
I'm sorry, we're just not game 3, guys. We're like, a long runway for, you know,
right.
him to, like
this is it.
This is who he is, at least for this year.
Yeah.
I mean, you can bank on maybe going through an off season, but that's a maybe. That's not a definitive he will.
Right.
He has to. But he does. Man.
What I was gonna say is, on those zone reads, why do you think JJ does not keep the ball?
I don't know, man. I know he's not fearful. So I'm not saying that. I don't know. I can't figure it out unless it's one of those edicts by the coaching staff. Hey, protect yourself. I don't know.
Maybe, but I just like that, and that's not obviously the only reason that he's in there, but. That is a part of the reason why he's in there, is because he brings another dynamic to the offense because of how explosive he is as an athlete. And that's part of the reason why when this was kind of up in flux and this guy's going to start one game and he's going to start, I think that's why a lot of people were like, yo, this is an easy decision. Like, it's easy as far as just picking these two. There's difficulty, right, with Cade of what he did for the program, all that good stuff. But as far as who's going to start this year moving forward, that was easy. It's JJ. But when you're not using all of your tools, then you're kind of taking a step down of what type of athlete and player you can be and the impact you can have on the game.
Yeah.
Dave says, get a warm drink for the ride home. Go Blue. We've got some hot apple cider in here, so good there. Thank you. But the other thing I want to talk about was with JJ, and we talked about it when we were up at just in the stands, is part of it, I think part of it is that your running back is so good. Blake Corum is so dynamic that it's almost like, well, I'd rather him have the ball than me. Like, even if that DN is reading it correctly, like, we're still, but like, he's not going to tackle Blake. So, like, let me just give it to him. Like, and
you can make him even better by pulling the ball a couple more times and keeping the defense honest.
Yep, absolutely. Mark says it's a one-game season starting now, and that is very, very true. Sports Talk 101 says we should have a full healthy team for OSU. I don't feel confident saying that. I mean, I would hope that is the case, but yes.
I never said he was a bust.
Jesse,
I never said he was a bust.
Jesse, it can be more than just all or nothing, man.
Exactly.
Like, there can be something in the middle.
Yeah. I'm saying that to say someone will get better. To say someone can get better, I agree with you there. He can get better, sure. He has time to get better before his career is done at Michigan, but to say he will, we don't know that. Because now, think about the sample size. Now we have a full season with him being a starting quarterback. And this is what he is as of now. I mean,
I'd be curious, and maybe you guys can look at it for us, of essentially his pace of where he's at now or where he's scheduled to throw, as far as yards go. Like, it doesn't seem like he's going to be that much more than Cade threw for. You know what I mean? Like, I think at as of last week, I think, because either you sent it to me or maybe I sent it to you, but someone had put it up on Twitter that basically the yardage was about the same. And I get it. It's a run-heavy scheme, but it was, I would argue, it was more run-heavy last year.
Yeah.
And that, and now I don't know. Like, I guess, like, I still think the right decision was made with JJ. I think he does give you a better chance to win, but we got the more dynamic kid to do the exact same thing we did with the less dynamic kid. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I have no idea. Jesse says he has to play what they call for him. He's not Peyton Manning. Right. Well, his own read, part of the play, Jesse, is him reading the defensive end and pulling the ball if possible. Our True says, just got here, we'll all be healthy next week. We haven't gotten anything. Yeah. I mean, but to me, I guess if Blake was healthy enough to go in the second half, even for a couple snaps,
that's a good sign.
I'd imagine that he's going to play next week. But with Mike Morris, I'm not quite sure. You saw him limit. I didn't see him on the sideline, but who knows? Who knows? Hoosiers beat the Spartans. My day just got better.
Weren't they up 24-7?
I couldn't tell what score that was they showed on because that was not the Spartan that Greyhounds thing. No, that's something different. That's something different.
No, I saw MSU 24-7 when they showed that score at one point. Wow. Okay.
That's crazy. Nate says DJ Turner always gets beat.
Yeah, there's a couple times we saw, if the Illinois quarterback puts that ball.
It was the number 7, to let you guys know, it was the number 7. The quarterback overthrew him. Gosh, I guess I can't say coming this way or that. Whatever. You guys probably know. It was late in the game, but number 7 ran out and up. It was a really good route, and if not Trevino, what is his name? Whatever the Illinois quarterback's name is, if he puts that ball on the money, that would have been a touchdown. It was a great route, great play call. we were both talking about it. Like, man, Brett Bielema, he was going for the win. There was no, like, hey, we're going to play this safe. He was going for the jugular. I can appreciate that as a head coach. Justin says, only a Sith deals in absolutes. Oh, that is incredible. Keelan says Day is going after Turner.
I think Day's going after everybody. But yes, definitely Turner. And DJ Turner is supposed to be one of these kids with 4.2, 4.3 type speed.
And I think he does.
Yeah, but he doesn't. And you see it a lot more when he's trying to make back up, like to his makeup speed. But
I didn't think he played that bad today.
No, not necessarily. But I think people have seen against MSU. Keon Coleman gave Turner some problems, and I think Coleman is going to give anybody problems. Right, he's 6'4". He's an NFL type receiver. But I'm just saying that I think we've seen DJ get tested a couple of times, and I think he's one of those guys that people think it would happen to.
Malachi coming in hot. Says Matt Weiss is trash.
What's interesting, guys, is that we now this is how much influence does Harbaugh have? And I think he has a ton of influence on his offense.
On the offense.
Because I don't know. It just screams him.
Yeah, it's definitely a heavy Harbaugh influence, and that's to be expected. He's the head coach, and his background is offense. But whoever was calling the plays did not have a good day today.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Especially after, they had a good day if you stopped the tape after the first drive.
Yes.
They had a great day.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
But the rest of the tape, and honest, like it's probably too simplistic, but part of me just thinks like, okay, you get your first typically 15 or 20 plays are scripted, and then from there you just kind of go, go off a feel. I'm like, part of me is just like, okay, at some point we're stagnant. Go back to the first 15 plays, because that seemed to work pretty well.
Yeah.
Like, it might, like I said, it probably is too simplistic. I'm like, but goodness great. The running up trust me, the Michigan fans were over the runs up the middle.
Oh, yeah.
They were all over it up in the stands. Just goodness gracious.
You definitely heard the bulls.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Let's see. Someone says I have to let JJ get experience and hope for the best.
How much more experience you can get after a full season, man?
2 full seasons. That's how much you can get.
He played. He got sprinkled. He was sprinkled into the offense at times last year. He's now been a starter for a full time this year. I don't know. This is an experience thing. It's a repetition thing, sure, but we may have to come to grips with the reality that maybe JJ is talented, but he has his deficiencies, and maybe pass accuracy is one of them. He has a great arm. He's mobile, but maybe pass accuracy is something that he's going to struggle with. Not saying it's going to definitive, it's going to stay that way.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a pattern thus far in his career.
Jesse says, we at least don't have it as bad as MSU.
And look,
that is correct.
No one's going to apologize for being 11-0. And once again, it's splendid that Michigan is there. Everything's on the table for them. Of course.
Let's see. Next game over, Michigan playing next week in wheelchairs. I don't really get that. Zoom Mazda?
I don't understand that
either. Man, a lot of DJ Turner slander in our chat here. Play calling is not dynamic. JJ can't be himself. So guys, bear with me here, because that kind of triggered something in my mind of a certain 5-star guy that came here with expectations, and afterwards the Harbaugh influence was talked about a lot with him. Shea
Patterson?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A guy and Shea Patterson was different in only this way, is that we saw him play in college at a high level.
Right.
He wasn't flawless by any means.
The Shea Patterson at Ole Miss did not look or play like the Shea Patterson in Michigan.
If you would have told me that they were 2 different quarterbacks, I would have believed that 100%. But that kind of brings up an interesting point with JJ is that the same thing that we're seeing of, right, like the Harbaugh influence of the just be safe with the ball, right? Like same thing with Shea Patterson, because we would criticize it. I'm like, dude, why doesn't he keep the ball? Like the defensive end is literally crashing down to the run, And at that point, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't have a running back as dynamic as Blake Corum, so the excuse of, well, it doesn't matter, he ain't going to make the play anyway, that wasn't there. But for him to be, like, he was just such that gunslinger, be aggressive downfield passing, and then when he got to Michigan, we almost never saw that. And I wonder if that's part of if that's, kind of what Harbaugh is kind of instilling in these guys of just kind of the NFL style. If we just don't turn it over, we'll be fine. Don't take chances. Yeah. The opposite of Bruce Arians. He's no risk it, no biscuit. I don't know what Harbaugh is. Don't risk the biscuits. I don't know. Whatever. But I wonder about that.
No, don't eat chicken. It's a nervous bird.
Yeah. Don't eat chicken. Nate brings up kind of the empty seats. And that brings me to something else too. We talked about it was early in the game. I think it just started, but they had announced that it was like, I don't know exactly how they put it. I don't know if they said it was a sellout or they said they're whatever the consecutive streak is of more than 100,000 people being in the stands, and then I think the number was like 110 and change. And I had asked you, I'm like, what is the capacity of this stadium? Because you said it was something like 112 or 114 or something like that. If you guys know, let us how many it seats. We obviously can't look it up right now. But my point was, and this was obviously, I think this kind of goes to the student section point. I mean, that is a big section.
Yeah.
And at that point in the game, nobody was sitting there.
Yeah.
So I'm like, wait a minute. You're telling me that is just? It just was odd.
I think it has something probably to do with the weather. If I had to guess, probably the weather. Probably it's a little too cold. People didn't want, students like not, probably partying last night. Didn't want to get up and, brave the elements. So.
Yeah. Antoine kind of talking about the play calling. Michigan needs to hire an OC that can help design pass plays and quarterbacks with receivers. Unacceptable with Jim. Every quarterback and receiver tends to regress. Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just not. Yeah, that's a good point. Of just regression as quarterbacks. Oof. You'd obviously love that doesn't continue. Antoine also says between Jim being conservative and these stupid play calls makes the team play extra tight because he's neglected the pass game. Better get somebody help next year with the pass game. A lot of people agree with Antoine. Mamba24, thank you so much for the super chat. Says our pass game is making me worried about OSU.
Deservedly so.
I was gonna say we feel that way too. Yeah, Nala also says, do we know if Edwards is going to play versus OSU and also Schoonmaker? Because we didn't see him at all today.
No Schoonmaker, no Edwards. It's concerning. Like these are not just guys who suit up. These are guys who play and make an impact, for you and are important.
So Mike Fort sounds like, per Mike Fort, they are both playing next week. He says supposedly they were both good to go today. Antoine is not happy with the play calling.
No one is. Well, I can't say no one is. A lot of people do. Antoine, if you was there, man, you would see a lot of people were upset with the play calling, especially passing wise.
Yeah. Janet McCarthy says Andrew Anthony disappointing that he doesn't catch that ball. Could have cracked the starting lineup by now. I mean, the receivers.
I'll say this. There's truth. There's truth to that. If I will say this, man. It's hard sometimes to get in the rhythm as a receiver when you only get maybe 1 or 2 chances a game. Like, man. you said
that in the game too. That was pretty funny because from first glance in real time, it looked like the DB broke it up, and then when they replayed it on the once it got replayed, and so I was like, oh yeah, no, he just dropped the ball.
It was right in his hands.
I think he got nervous. Safety was coming over to pop him, and which that actually didn't happen. Safety was just over there just to kind of join the party. That was about it. So yeah, I just Mark says Michigan dominance with time of possession. Is so integral in our game strategy. Defense was on the field way too long, and our offense couldn't provide game control with the run. This game was the antithesis to our normal.
I agree with that.
But the scary part is, what if that doesn't happen next week?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think Mark, thanks for the comment. But I think that is literally our entire conversation that we've talked about when it comes to next week. It's just that.
Yeah.
It's just if it doesn't go perfect, how Michigan wants next week, what does that look like?
Right.
and I don't think that's crazy to say. Let's see. Wow, Marcus said we'd be lucky to beat Illinois in the Big Ten championship game.
I won't go that far. Wouldn't go quite that far.
See, guys, Marcus, you've gone so far to the extreme that Dre is reeling you back right now. That's great.
Illinois, Illinois played the spirit of the game today.
They did.
But part of it, I think Michigan definitely helped them out a lot too.
Absolutely. So Marcus says, what can we do to beat OSU?
Get healthy as possible. Offensively, I'm not going to call for them to do something they haven't done all year.
Correct.
So I would say just do what you do well. Control the TOP, as Mark was saying earlier. Keep that OSU offense off the field, and where your defense is out there, try to limit the explosive plays. Be sound with your assignments. Try not to commit any penalties. Have a good fundamental tackling, and give yourself a chance.
And I know Michigan is not typically a team that you really ever see them double team a receiver, but in those third and obvious passing downs, Harrison Jr. is not one that you can just single up with. To me, I don't care what corner you get. And it's not. So I want to make it clear. I'm not saying DJ Turner's not good enough to cover him. What I'm saying is no corner in college football is good enough to cover that kid. He is that good. You need to double team him in some of those third and obvious passing downs. He is that good.
Yeah.
Because I think on an island, DJ and Fleming and has Jackson Smith and Jigba played at all?
Not really. He's been really spotty this year. Ever since the first game versus Notre Dame, he really hasn't been much of an impact for them.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why you've had the Marvis Harrison Jr.
As big as it has been. But yeah, for Michigan, I don't think they need to do anything different than how they have always played. Mm-hmm. It just can't look the way it did in the second half of this game.
No, it can't look sloppy. It has to look. They have to do what they do well. And unfortunately, it just, because of their play style, it just doesn't allow for a lot of room of error. You can't afford to get into a hole. You have to be front runners. You can't afford any penalties, really. Like, you can't have any holding calls, false starts, nothing like that. You have to stay ahead of the schedule. So it's just they have a very minute way of playing, and things have to pretty much go step by step for them to be as effective as they want to be. Especially if you're not going to have any home run plays.
Correct. Like dialed up, drawn up, pass plays where it's like, all right, let's take this shot.
Right.
That doesn't seem to be a habit of this offense.
Right.
I'm not saying it can't happen, right? Maybe they're saving it for Ohio State. It's possible, but I think it's unlikely. Larry Ball says, Dre, we can't make excuses for Andrell. He's got number one on. He's supposed to be him.
Oh, I agree with you there. I wasn't making an excuse. I was just saying, like, I think I know he should have caught that ball. I was just saying, like, man, I was putting myself in his shoes. I'm like, I ain't got the ball.
It was so funny. It was funny because you said that, like, and people around us were laughing because you were just like, I mean, if I only got thrown one ball every game, like, it'd be hard for me to catch that too.
Yeah, it's just like,
not quite warmed up.
Like, think about it, you're used to running your routes all game, and all of a sudden, like, oh wow, the ball's actually there.
I'm not used to this.
Yeah, you kind of get a little shaky. I was putting myself in his shoes. Of course, you should have caught the ball.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Antoine is not happy. So what do we have to do to beat OSU? He says we have to be able to complete a pass. I don't know what they're doing at practice.
It's I don't know, man. Like it definitely is not.
Maryland's up 13-10. That's interesting. Let's see. That's a good question. If Maryland beats OSU, do you feel differently about the game? Maryland's in the division, right?
Yeah, maybe. I think for me, I'm actually just more focused on what I saw today for Michigan. Would I feel a little bit different? Maybe a little bit. But it's, I honestly, more of how my opinion of Michigan, their chances about their about next week is based on how they have played, and what they have shown they can do well or what they struggle with. Mm-hmm. So it might move that meter slightly for me, but not a ton.
Okay, perfect. Angel. Mark says respect. So he says number 1, Anthony Carter. Respect the number 1 jersey and honor the tradition, or take it off.
I'll be honest with you. I'm like, at this point,
I'm actually shocked he even got it, even last year.
I mean, bro. Yeah, you kind of got it.
You're a wide receiver, and they let you have that.
That's like a rite of passage. I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like, dude, like the way our receivers play in terms of most of their values in blocking. How about we just get rid of typical receiver numbers and just put an offensive lineman number out there? It had them with 75 and 65 and all that stuff, because that's most of their value. They're not really utilized like real receivers.
Oh my
just saying. Like, why the hell am I running number 1 and I'm only getting like 2 targets,
one pass a game?
One pass.
That's why here's 1, because he gets 1 target.
Really, one. Your number is reflective of the targets you get. Ronnie Bell 8 targets. Cornelius Johnson 6. I'm not even sure about that.
Someone put in the chat, we are in prevent offense. Oh my god.
Yes, yes, thank you. Prevent the defense from getting the ball.
I've never heard that before.
Yes,
that's incredible.
Prevent the defense from getting the ball. Hey, Jen, what about scoring the ball? Well, number 1 thing is just want to prevent turnovers. Okay, but how about getting the ball in the end zone? That's good. I like that.
That is hilarious. Nate says Andrew left his game in East Lansing last year. He's kind of got a point.
Yeah.
Sports Talk 101 says, is Michigan a CFP team without Blake Corum? I say no.
No. But you're a CFP team based on the final result. So
I think it would be
they wouldn't be here without Blake Corum. I'll put it that way. He's integral to their whole team from a performance standpoint and leadership as well.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Perfect. Well, I think that is about it for us. If y'all would please like this video, give it a thumbs up. We got about 103 on the line live. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Much appreciated.
Yes, much appreciated, even though we are in a bit of an unorthodox spot. And we will be back Wednesday. Ooh, that's going to be the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Ooh. Well,
Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So we will be here. Feel free to tune in, and we'll see. I don't know. You want to do some? Maybe we'll do our first ever, have some folks kind of hop on the StreamYard.
That'd be great. Yeah.
We might do that. So yeah, tune in. I think we should do that. It's Ohio State week.
Why not?
We got to change it up.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, man.
So we'll do that. So Wednesday we will do a quote unquote call-in show, but we'll do the StreamYard link where you can jump in and all that good stuff, and yeah, we'll have you guys on, and so make sure you get your hair done and everything, so you look nice and fresh for the camera. Mark, thanks so much for the super chat. We appreciate it. Thanks for the comments. Everybody, thanks again for tuning in. We greatly appreciate it. We are going to enjoy some libations, and we're gonna have a good evening. So thanks again, y'all, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Peace. Jesse put no video.
No video.